All right, hello everybody, and welcome to an episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy. And I am so excited to have as my guest today John from Talking Story. Hello, John. It is great to see you. How are you?
Dr. Chase, it is amazing to be here. I've looked forward to this all week.
That's so great. And by the way, you can call me Philip. It's
I can't,
perfect.
I had, okay, I will try. I'm going to have a hard time with that because everyone from my educational background that worked hard enough to get a PhD by their name, I always like to call them doctor because I know that is a mountain to get up.
It was fun. I enjoyed doing that though, because it was about literature. Of course, it was focused on medieval literature and some of my favorite things to read to this day, like Beowulf and the sagas and stuff like that. So, and very much informative, in my opinion, for a lot of fantasy as well that you and I both love. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
Um,
bet it was. Yeah. Just like I'm probably Shakespeare is for me. Same kind of thing.
yeah, because you're coming from a drama background, of course.
Yeah.
So yeah, Shakespeare is tremendous. I love Shakespeare, and I don't think we acknowledge enough how much Shakespeare's influence is in fantasy. Even like I was just talking today with AP Canavan and Varsha from Reading by the Rainy Mountain about A Midsummer Night's Dream. Not Shakespeare's play. Well, yes, Shakespeare's play, but also Neil Gaiman's
Yes.
in the Sandman.
Love
Uh,
that issue.
yeah,
Love that issue. Yeah.
I have to say it's
Yeah.
one of my favorites so far, for sure. Yeah, the meta stuff going on there, the stuff about storytelling and inspiration, and just so much. And of course, the original play is just I feel it is one of my favorite Shakespeare plays. One of the two, as you probably know, that he made up, right? That he didn't steal the plot for, you know.
It's not a history, not, yeah, absolutely. But I
Yeah.
mean, think for me, Shakespeare is, he was a popular writer of his time. He wrote for the as much of the masses as he could get to come to the globe. That's who he was writing for.
That's right.
So, gosh, fantasies, mysteries, ghost stories. It's all in there. The Tempest is a wizard that's is sequestered himself away on an island with a monster on the beach.
Yep.
Midsummer Night's Dream is the Fae wreaking havoc with a wedding party, and talk about
Which is in Macbeth. You have
yeah, witches
Ghosts
and
in Hamlet. Yeah.
Ghosts in Hamlet. Yeah, Hamlet is primarily a ghost story. I mean, it's a man's descent too, but and talk about meta. The end of A Midsummer's Night when he breaks the fourth wall, and if we spirits have offended, think but this is and all is mended. I mean, it's he was there early.
Yep. Or else the Puck a liar call. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So, if you don't mind, I've actually been curious about your theater background and your engagement with all of that. I've heard you talk about it here and there on your channel, but I'd love to hear more about it and what exactly that entailed, and just if you don't mind, I'm gonna
Yeah.
ask you the standard question later, but let's focus a little bit on theater because we don't talk about drama enough on BookTube.
I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, it's where I came from. I don't know if a lot of people will be interested, but um, wow. I mean, what do you want to know? I'm an open book. I am happy to talk about it. Anything you'd like to know.
So obviously, I mean, how far back does acting go for you? Let's start with that.
Oh gosh, really? I mean, I think I grew up in Texas, and there was just like football is a big thing in Texas, acting is not. But
Yeah.
just like just like there's UIL over all the football teams, and you play for district, and then you play for area, and then regional, and then state. There is a one act play competition
Ah,
for
cool.
all high schools in Texas. It's overseen by Universal Interscholastic League, the UIL,
Okay.
and that's kind of where I started, where I got in. I wanted to be an actor before that. I don't know. It's not like it's in my family. It's just what came to me. I
Huh.
was always enamored with story. I was always just loving story. And that's how I wanted to be a part of storytelling.
Yeah.
And that's just what I wanted to do. So I grew up at a very small town in a very small school. There was like 48 people in my graduating class, I think.
Hmm.
So I played football and I did all that, but also I did all the one act play because if you didn't do everything at that school, you couldn't field a team. So,
Yeah.
we got to do everything and there wasn't a cool table and a football table and you just had to do everything or you couldn't field a team and couldn't make it happen at your school. So I was in band and played football and did the play and so all of that. So that's kind of where I first started and then I just kept going with it, just basically never gave up.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I too did drama in high school. I was all through high school. I was in a play.
Yeah.
Not play football. We didn't even have a football team, and my class was slightly larger than yours at 60 something.
That's
Um,
still crazy small today, right?
yeah, well, in rural Vermont, but I ran cross country and did track, but no football.
I ran track. I did hurdles.
I did too, actually. Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. I'm not that tall, so I did qualify for states. But when I got
That's
there,
great.
yeah, I wasn't. I was pretty fast. But when I got there, I'm 5'10", and all these other dudes around me were like 6'3", 6'4". They just step over the hurdle.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not fair.
Yeah. I'm like you. I'm like 5'10" and a half, somewhere 5'10",
Yeah,
somewhere right around there. And it's like my coach made me do track
yeah.
just to keep me in shape for football the following year. So he gave
Ah,
me no choice. I was never good at it. He just made me. He just knew how lazy I was, and if he didn't make me, I wouldn't be ready for next year.
yeah. So you continued to do plays and drama after high school, then, correct?
Yeah, I went to what was Southwest Texas State University. Now I think it's just Texas State University,
Uh-huh.
and I went there for a very specific reason. There was a teacher there, and wow, I don't know how much in the weeds I should get with this, but
Uh-huh.
I guess way back in the Russian when Anton Chekhov started writing his plays, and it was far less stylized and more like you're just peeking in a window at life. Acting had to change. We couldn't do what we'd always done as far as chorus and presentation styles and things like that. It was more like you were just living on stage.
Hmm.
So there was a teacher in Russia, Mikhail Chekhov, and he started teaching to make that type of actor to do the kind of plays that Anton Chekhov was writing.
Oh, how
So this
cool.
was when we saw this in the States, like if you just follow the historical line, you'd see things like Arthur Miller and David Mamet and Sam Shepard, all going this way, right? And Actors Studio and things like that popping up. So there was a teacher at Southwest Texas State University who was, at that time, along with Yul Brynner, they were the last two surviving members of Mikhail Chekhov's last class.
Wow. Huh.
So I wanted to go there and learn everything I could from little Jimmy Harrell from Waco, Texas, because he had actually gone to Russia and studied with the last class with Mikhail Chekhov. So
Well,
it
along with
was
Yul Brynner. Yul
along
Brynner.
with Yul Brynner, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I wanted to go there and study from him so I could
Huh.
learn everything I could from him. And then from there, I moved to LA for 10 years and continued independent study and got lucky enough to be in some things. And, then after 10 years, I came back to San Antonio and met my wife, and we formed our own theater company. And I was producing artistic director and educational director of that for a good number of years.
Yeah. Wow. Just in case anyone out there is like Yul Brynner, who's that?
King
I
and I.
Yeah. Or wasn't he also in the oh gosh, what's the Western that's
Oh, Westworld.
was that the one? I was thinking of something else.
Oh, I'm sure he was in a lot of Westerns, but I know he was in Westworld.
Wasn't he in the one that was based on the Seven Samurai? Oh gosh, why am I not thinking of the title?
Magnificent Seven.
Yeah, wasn't he in that?
I think he was. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Was
Yeah.
it? I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he was in the Magnificent Seven, which is very influential.
Yeah.
Very influential. I would say for many fantasy authors, as well as Western authors, Seven Samurai probably is like the
Oh,
more
it's huge. Yeah.
the origin thing, but the Hollywood Western version of it was, yeah. So cool. Wow. All right. That's great. I mean, I just I still have a love of theater myself from those high school days. I
Oh,
still, what's strange about, I will sometimes have dreams of high school, but they're always about the dramas, the plays.
really?
That was always. I never dream about any other context in high school. It's always the drama. I'm on the stage at dear old PA, People's Academy, doing something. You know, strange.
I every once in a while I will still have a good old fashioned actor's nightmare where
Yeah.
either okay, you're on, and it's like I on for what? I what are you talking about? I don't know I don't know lines. I don't know what you're talking about, and you just pushed onto stage and the lights hit you. I will have that dream a couple times a year probably.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I used to have teachers' nightmares where I'm in the middle of a semester and
right.
I suddenly realized, wait, there's this class I was supposed to be teaching and I've never seen the students. I've never gone to the class. I wonder what they've been doing all this time. And on top of that, it's a math class. I'm an English
Oh,
professor.
the worst. Yeah, yeah. No,
What happened to my students? I don't know. Yeah.
the only way I could get out of school was I took math classes that were the equivalent of this is how you keep a checkbook. Like, we feel safe about putting you out into the world because I was that words guy too, that it was like, okay, numbers are not my
Yeah.
this is not my world at all.
You know what I got away with in college for my math class? Philosophy of logic was my math class, which I loved. I loved that class. It
Oh,
was fantastic.
wow.
Yeah.
That's a great workaround. I loved my philosophy class too. That was, yeah, that would, I wish I'd have thought of that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the college I was at allowed that. So I was like, yep, that one. Yeah.
I'll take that one. You went to the right college.
Yeah. I think I had to test into it though. You had to show a sufficient amount, and by some miracle, I actually passed that test, and they said, okay, yeah, you can take that. So yeah, cool. Well, I think it is time for our standard question, and that
I'm
is,
ready. Hit me.
you're ready. Good. So, going on the theory that you are what you read, John, what
Yeah.
are some of the formative reads that have been part of your life, going all the way back to Little John, when you were a kid, if you like, or as far back as you want to go? But what are
Yeah.
some of the books and the stories that you could use to explain who you are to this day?
Wow. I mean, going all the way back, I remember being crushed because I thought I could read. And I thought I could read because, I'd started with the kids' books and I'd gone through them so many times. I had them memorized. So
Yeah.
I thought that reading, I got it down. And then I got into school and they're putting things in front of me that I didn't know. And it's like, wait a minute, I don't know how to read. So I remember starting off spending every day after school with my grandmother, and she took the time to taught me how to read, to teach me how to read. And wow, going all the way. I mean, I found fantasy pretty early. I remember I found The Hobbit by Tolkien, and I found the Narnia. Those were some of the first I remember. Um, and then I was all in at that point. And then I not much further after that. My mom, the one thing she would never say no to me is if I was out of books, and she would take me. We'd have to go from our little town into the big city, into San Antonio, and go to the bookstore. And I think right around 13, I found Stephen King, and then horror opened up for me. I was big into that for a good while.
Nice.
But I mean, reads I'll never forget. Like I'll never forget. I think it was fifth or sixth grade when we read The Red Fern Grows, and I mean
Oh,
that the emotionality I experienced from text on a page
yeah.
changed me, absolutely changed me, because
Sure.
I realized at that point this is an entire emotional journey that you take through somebody else's shoes and behind their eyes just by opening a book.
Yeah.
And I had experienced the adventure of Narnia and The Hobbit, but it didn't rock me to my core. I did not have an emotional journey and an emotional experience like I did until I hit that book.
Mm.
And then I think that really changed me. That let me know what literature is really, not only an adventure, but it's a shortcut to compassion and empathy and emotionality on just. I think it's even more so than watching a film or sometimes being in the theater, because it's solitary, meditative, and you can really take things in. So I'll never forget that. I'll never forget when I early on when I met my wife, she said, you have to read this book, and it was The Masterpiece by Emile Zola. And both of us being young actors, I mean, the story of obsession and possession of art, and what it takes to strive to create. And I mean, that will stick with me forever. Um, so I mean, there's just, I think those are two of the top. I do, it's fantasy always for me. I'm going to go back to The Hobbit, because I think I found that book right after I saw the cartoon, the
Oh yeah.
Ralph Bakshi cartoon.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Orson Bean was the voice of Bilbo, and
Ah,
yeah. And then it's like, it's a book. I got to get the book. And I went to the library and got the book immediately. And from there, I went to Narnia. And it's like, that was all I read until I discovered Stephen King. And then horror was opened up to me.
okay. All right. Cool. So from there, obviously, did you remain a reader all your years? You never got to the point, because most people I talk to, and I ask this question, there's a period in high school, college, where they stop reading for pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this something, whether it be, often it's Mistborn, or it's, for older people, slightly older people like you and me, it might be Lord of the Rings, or,
You're right.
but there's something that just set off a spark and
Right.
brought them back into reading, and explains how obsessed they are to this day with fantasy or what have you. So was there a
Yeah.
series like that for you that just swept you away and brought you back?
Wow. I don't think there was ever a time when I was not like really actively chasing story.
Okay.
Because yeah, I started as a reader as a very young person. I
Yeah.
was, like I say, crestfallen. I couldn't do it. And then from the time I learned, I never stopped. And then when I got into theater, it was just one script after another. We would read hundreds of scripts in a
Okay.
year to choose a season, and then to work with a director if I wasn't directing myself, and to break down every character and find every motivation. And you're just analyzing and breaking down entirely. When I left theater, I opened my own comic shop. So all I did was read comics and books and talk with the regulars and hang out. And a lot of them were gamers. So then I got into gaming so I could talk about narrative form in that way with them. And then
Wait, wait, wait,
we,
wait. I have to stop at comic shop.
yeah,
The cool factor just went way up here.
not necessarily when I had it, but yeah, nowadays, sure.
But
So yeah,
I grew up on comics,
oh, me too. Yeah,
I was more a Marvel guy, but I had some DC as well. I loved the X-Men, Spider-Man. I have tons of Spider-Man. But yeah, that was my main reading when I was a kid, from the late 70s to the mid 80s, I would say. Yeah, and
yeah.
then I stopped, unfortunately, because living in rural Vermont, it's not easy to find a place where it sells comic books, even. So yeah.
When we moved from Texas to here in North Carolina, I made sure the town we moved to had a comic shop, because I still have to go in and buy comics. I
You
have
do.
to. Yeah, absolutely. I cover books. I try and read comics every month as well as my books. But so it's like, then I was chasing that, and then we made the move, and I was kind of reading the same old authors that I had been with for a long time, all my faves.
Mhm.
And then I would try and branch out and find some new people, and I wasn't doing well. Like, I wasn't finding the authors I wanted to find. And it's like, I heard about BookTube. I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna see what I could do. And it's like, I started watching BookTube. I think I watched Mike first, and it's like, wow, this is my people. Like, this is what I use. These are the we used to sit around and analyze scripts, or we used to talk comics, or my
Yep.
friend in LA, when I lived there, we would plan our days off together. So we would get together in the morning, and we would hit bookstores and comic stores and used bookstores and used comic stores and some record stores, and get hot dogs at a gas station so we could just eat real fast and keep going. And that's what we did, for every day off. And then I haven't had that for years and years and years. And then I found everyone on BookTube, and it's like, I wonder if I could add my voice to this, if I
Yeah.
could have people to talk books with again, you know.
Yeah.
And I was talking to my kid about it, and he was like, would that mean you'd stop trying to tell me about these books that you read that I'm never going to read, that you're driving me crazy?
So no wonder he helps you now.
Yeah, so if you stop chasing me around the house with like, look what I just read and I'm never going to read it and I wish you'd stop telling me, I will help you build a channel. So that's kind of what happened. So
Wow.
I would
Okay.
say the thing that pulled me back in when I started looking into BookTube was, I heard about from everyone Brandon Sanderson, and it's like I had no idea that this person existed.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I've since become to call him the human storymatic 3000, because this guy cranks out, right? I had no idea of the self-published indie movement that was going on.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
no clue. So this, I would say, I'm going to try Brandon Sanderson. So I started with Mistborn, and from then it was like, now I'm finding what I was looking for, you
Yeah.
know.
So you went on YouTube and you found your tribe,
Yep,
and
that's it.
and then eventually said, "Why not me?" Right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was always that, I just wanted to go back to my youth when you have friends and you just talk books all day, or I don't know if you've noticed this in your life as you get, you've built a business, you've built a career, you've built a family, and you look around, and some of the most important things from your early life, like friends, are not as prevalent as they were. And
Hmm.
that's what I found.
Yeah.
So for me, just to have people to talk with and connect with, and to have the same kind of loves, and not only just booktubers, but oh my God, the comments, like all the people I've met in comments.
Sure. Sure.
I haven't had, since I started, I haven't really had a bad read, because everyone just recommends the most amazing material, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's very rare for me to pick up a book nowadays without having heard about it in advance from all kinds of people and having had it recommended to me. So that's true. I don't have very many negative reading experiences. So
Yeah,
that's a real perk of being part of this community for sure.
amazing.
Yeah. So that's fantastic. And you said you discovered indie fantasy as well. So I'm currently in the midst of being a judge for SPFBO, and this shouldn't have been a shock to me, but I'm actually really impressed with the overall quality of the writing and the books. And the fact of the matter is, I personally think that it is possible for an author to achieve the same level of professionalism through self-publishing as has been the case for many years for the authors who are supported by a traditional publisher. Because you'd have to do all of it right. You can't just
Oh
write
yeah,
yourself and then hit publish with KDP or something. You need to
right.
hire an editor. You need to hire a really good artist for the cover, and all that is very expensive as well. So if you can't afford that sort of thing, then you have to find alternative ways to try to accomplish the same goal. But I really feel like the possibilities there now, where it was never really an option. And because of technology, because of lots of freelance people out in the world, the gig economy, what have you, it's just possible. I think self-publishing has never been so viable as
Yeah.
it is now.
Well, and I think you find, like, I think that gets borne out over and over again. Like, look at Brandon Sanderson again. He's top of the top, right? And
Yeah. He's self-publishing.
he self-published him. It's like a
Yeah.
hybrid. He's a bit of a hybrid model.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's way more finance than other than others.
Yeah,
But
he's got a little more money than most.
yeah, that little thing you did on Kickstarter financed a good chunk.
Yeah.
Um, but I totally agree with you. And once I found it, like, I just really, really enjoyed your book. It hit me on a truly spiritual level.
Oh,
And
The Way of a Dan, you mean? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and some other ones that I found as well. And it's I just love the movement. I love the movement where, and it takes me back to when I was doing theater, where you're going to tell a story and you're going to attempt to find an audience, because to wake up every morning and look in the mirror and not do that is a lie to yourself. So you have to spend the time to do that.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a meaningful, spiritual, very profound and deep thing to do. I mean, to try and create something and then share it. There's no more transcendent thing than to create something from nothing and try and have someone else share it with you and feel something for it and think about things with it. And I mean, I just absolutely adore that. And for people to be out there hustling and doing it, because to not do it is just not who they are. It's like that's everything,
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard you talk about that recently, and in the sense that there's an almost spiritual element to storytelling, that you are, in a way, writing is in a way, it's a doomed to failure because you're never going to be able to express the ineffable, but that's what you do as a writer. You try
Yeah.
your best to put what's in here into words. And artists who paint or whatever in a visual medium, filmmakers, musicians, all of the people who do anything creative are trying to put that ineffable into a form that we can wrestle with, and
Yeah.
and that, I think, is essential, for our humanity. I think
Right.
we need that in order to feel a sense of meaning, to get through the many forms of suffering and chaos and beauty and wonder that we encounter in this life.
I mean, to me, it's right. It's doomed. You're absolutely right, because we are humane, which is a miracle in itself. But perfection is not part of our reality. It's not part of our makeup. And when you try to create something, perfection is what you're striving for. It's what you absolutely are striving for and what you want. But to attempt to transcend from the human plane and create something from nothing is, I mean, that's a laudable thing to do, I think, and to allow other people to. I mean, it's like, okay, you from PA and Little Lytle, Texas, for me to take your words and attach to myself to them, and it's like, this speaks to me of the spiritual journey I took. And I feel like I have a connection not only to these characters, but also through them to the artist, because I feel like I found a soul that also might have had somewhat of a spiritual journey like me. All of that is just from picking up a story,
Yeah.
and I find it profound in just so many ways.
Yeah.
So,
Stories connect us across space and time.
and
Yeah.
it's how we define everything. It's how we define our reality is through story. I mean, I know through science there's more actual nothing in this table than there are molecules making up the table, but it's a table because we say it is. And
Yeah.
we define the story of what it is. So that's why I think, even coming all the way back, that's why I think fantasy spoke to me so much in the beginning, because
Sure. Yeah.
having a reality laid out for me that is at its core somehow magical, for me, spoke to me more of a reality than reality, because I see reality with black holes and quasars and Fibonacci spirals and all things of nature. I see more magic in my real world than is given credit for. So when I'm reading something fantastical that is based on the magical, I see actual more reality in the character's experience.
Yeah. That is one of the beauties of fantasy, is that it unveils the wonder that exists in the world around us, but we don't see it most of the time.
We're too busy. We get wrapped up in the mundane. We get wrapped up in the 9 to 5. We get wrapped up in, I mean, fill in the blank, but it's there. It's still there for us if we would just slow down. And that's why the meditative singular thing of reading slows you down and allows you to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. When I was a kid, I read Lord of the Rings somewhere around the age of 12, 13. And I can distinctly remember walking in the forest behind the log cabin where I lived, during those years, and being alone in that forest and wanting so much to meet elves.
Right?
I knew I wasn't okay. So I knew I was not actually going to meet elves, but that feeling, that elevating, beautiful feeling of wanting to encounter that, and that colored the world with a sense of wonder for me. And I'll never forget that. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
But you know what, I remember, and maybe not the first time I read it, but yeah, I've read it several times over the years. And to me, the elves are the beauty of the elves is because they're so in touch with themselves and the natural world around them. So that walk in the forest as a young person, you were probably closer to them than you even realized, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the magic was there with you, whether you realized it or not. You probably felt it, you know?
sure. Yeah, it's like Tolkien saying, "I desired dragons," in his essay on fairy stories. I desired elves,
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
But our reality is not far removed. There were dragons that walked this speck of dust in the cosmos at one time. I mean, if not for
sure.
some great cataclysm, this world was ruled by dragons. We're not far removed. There is just magic on layer upon layer. It just depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I think the writers and the artists and the musicians help us. They remind us of that
Yes.
wonder and that beauty, and they can help us to re-engage with it. You know, so that's wonderful. Who are some of the writers that you would
And the
say?
teachers, don't sell yourself short. The teachers as well.
Oh, sure, that is part of our. We're intermediaries. I feel that we are the ones who say, "Go there."
Yeah.
You'll find this over here, and some of the students will go there. Some
Yeah.
very reluctantly at first, but then when they get a peek and they say, "Oh, wow, okay," and they go there.
I was, I,
Others you can't hold back. They're just running to get there.
Yeah. Oh, I remember in the beginning, I was horrible at analyzing and different character motivations and different things when I first started studying. But if not for my teachers to show me how to read a script and how to break down a character and how to go there, I would not be anywhere near who I am today. It's
Sure.
to me, it's teachers are big magic.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah. And I think that enthusiasm, that joy, the pure love of learning and whatever the discipline might be. In my case, it's storytelling essentially is what I
Hmm.
deal with as a teacher. Um, that is essential to me to not only be a good teacher, but to reach those students in the way that you were describing the love of the subject, the also the empathy. You were talking about
Hmm.
empathy earlier. You must have empathy, I think, to be a great teacher as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, storytelling can teach us all about that too.
Oh, there's no better way to get behind a character's eyes. I mean, there's no better way to have sympathy, empathy, compassion. All that's a shortcut to all of that.
Yep.
I mean, you can see how one can fall to the pits of despair and ascend to the highest heights,
Yep.
sometimes all in one book.
And that is the question I pose to my students, all my students on the first day of the intro to literature course I teach. It's a course where we do some short stories, we do poetry, and we do some drama. And so, yeah, this semester for drama, you might be interested to know.
Absolutely.
No Shakespeare, but we're doing Susan Glaspell's Trifles, very short play, early
Yeah.
20th century uh,
Hmm.
feminist play. And we're doing Fences
Fences.
Fences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
August.
August Wilson. Yeah.
August Wilson. Yeah.
Yeah. Which was fairly recently. There was a film version of that with
Yeah.
Denzel Washington,
Denzel. Yeah. Very
Viola
good.
Davis. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, but the question I pose on day one is, okay, this is how I start my class. Why do we tell stories?
Mm.
I just ask that question. And if I have to wait, I wait. Why do we tell stories? And then I get some answers and, kind of hesitant at first. And usually someone will talk about entertainment and they're all wonderful reasons. They're all valid reasons. But someone always says empathy, or explains how it works. Like you read a story about someone from another culture and you learn what life is like for that. It's like a window into that culture, into that person's life. That has a lot to teach you. And sometimes you see your commonality with that person and you
Right.
form a sense of connection with that person.
Yes.
And inevitably, the conversation goes toward catharsis. And very few of them have heard the word catharsis before, but they know what it is. So I'll ask them, I'll say, look, have you ever gotten to the end of a book or even the end of a really great film, and you're sitting there, you turn the last page, you read the last words, or the credits are rolling, and you're just sitting there with your jaw hanging open,
Yeah.
with this sense of just being cleansed, of just incredible sublime feeling, and you're just blown away, and they all are like, yeah, yeah, that, and then you felt catharsis. That's
Yeah.
catharsis, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But the reason to tell story is to be behind that feeling of catharsis. So that lives, I mean, it's the, for me, when I was chasing it in theater, it was my closest chance to ascend beyond a physical plane and to be immortal. You know, if you could be a part of an experience like that for someone, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's funny. It's so interesting to me. Art is just so, it's such a touchstone. It doesn't matter what medium, you know. Like you write a book, and I know you angsted over every word you put down. And I want them to feel this. I want them to go on this ride, you know. And like you say, you can't get it out of your head the way you want it to. It's not possible.
Nope.
But there are those sparkling moments, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember I'll be on stage sometimes, or you know, when I was a younger man, and I got it. I would hit it. It was everything had fallen away.
You feel that electricity,
I
that,
was totally sunk in. I was doing nothing but communicating and connecting with whoever else was on stage with me. And inevitably at that moment, I would have the thought of, this is it. I've got it. And as soon as you have that thought, it's gone.
gone.
You've lost
Yeah.
it. Now I'm in my head again, and I'm thinking about what I had. Now I don't have it. Now I'm going to chase the whole rest of the play and probably the next 6 weeks run to try and get that back. It's an unbelievable drug that you try and get back, you know?
Yep.
But I mean, I know when you put a line down, there were some lines in that book that I read. It's like he had to have rung the bell on that and just known, yeah, I had that. That was pretty good.
There were scenes, especially actually, to tell you the truth, in the third book. The third book almost made me write it. It seized me
Really?
and said, sit down, you're going to do this, you know. And there was a certain character, if you read the third book, you'll meet this character who just said, no, 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 this is what you're doing,
Right.
pay attention, you know.
Right.
So
How
I felt like I
special
was
is that?
channeling. I was channeling. I wasn't
Like,
writing.
how special is that? That's that thing I'm talking about. You know,
Yeah.
that's the thing you have to get out of its way. That's amazing.
That was the third book for me,
Yeah.
more than the first two. I loved writing the first two. They were great learning processes, and I love the stories, and I have a lot of affection for them. But the third book was something else for me.
Yeah.
That's how I experienced it. Somebody might read it and think, well, but whatever. That's how I experienced it. Sometimes when I'm playing tennis too, by the way, I'll be in the moment, I'll be in the zone, I'll hit a perfect forehand, and I see that ball fly off my racket and just hit exactly the spot where I knew it would hit. And then I think about it, what did I just do? And then I start like garbage.
And then you're gone. Then it's gone.
Yeah.
The same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know athletes talk about being in the zone, and I think it's the same thing. It's that moment
Yeah.
of transcendence from the physical that they're doing, right? And
Yeah.
yeah, it's so funny how same it is
Yeah.
as you try to transcend the physical plane and create something and move, you know, how
Yeah.
it's interesting to me how the process is the same.
You've heard it called flow before, I'm sure. Joanna,
Yeah, Joanna, I've seen
Joanna's talked
Joanna's work.
about
Yeah,
flow.
absolutely.
Yeah. There's a book
Same
called
kind of thing.
Flow. Yeah. Which,
But to let you know, I am absolutely reading books 2 and 3 this year. I've
cool.
decided to. Oh my God, I fell into that Whitman sampler situation with Indy, right? I said, okay, I'm all in. I love this. I'm committing to one indie book a month.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I gotta have all these. Oh my God, there's all these different authors. I need a nougat and a caramel and a cream and a peanut cluster. And now I'm in the middle of so many series. So what I'm trying to do this year is I'll do someone I haven't experienced before, and then the next month I have to go back to a series that I've started so I can wrap up some of these.
Can I be the dark chocolate with coconut?
You can be whatever you'd like. Yeah, the dark chocolate with coconut. I will remember that. So this past month I just read Spider Key, which is book 2 after the Wickwire Watch, which you probably just read. If
I haven't read it yet. I'm going to be reading it very soon, though. I think it might be my next SPFBO read after the one I'm finishing now.
Yeah, so I just read book 2 of that. And then so next month will be an all new person. And in the month after that, which will be April, I'm back to
Oh,
Edan.
well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm just happy when people pick it up. I
Uh,
know there are so many books out there because I'm in the same boat. I have so many wonderful people who've sent me books, and
yeah,
I can't wait to get to them, but I can't read them
right.
all at once, you know.
Yeah.
So I
And
totally understand. Yeah.
are you like me? It's not just this like, wow, I want to read. It's not
Yeah.
like it's, oh, I've got such a stack. It's like, I wish I could just blow through every one of these. Every one of these sounds like an amazing treat to me. I
Well, in a
just
way,
can't get to all of them.
I'm in the position right now where I have to read the SPFBO final.
Right.
So my TBR is set till the end of April, essentially.
Yeah.
And after that,
So
I'll get to some of the others that people have sent. Yeah.
how is your how has it been putting out the trilogy? Is it doing well? Is it, I mean, how has that journey been like? I know I watch your videos, so I know you're talking to Broken Binding. So you must have had some kind of success for them to come calling.
Well, that was what happened with that. So the first contact was sort of indirect, I guess you could say. But I believe that Matt from the Broken Binding, he's the owner. He was recently on Page Chewing with Taylor and PL. So I totally recommend watching that video if
Yeah, I'll
you
go
want
find
to
that.
get some insight into. It was on Taylor's channel, Made Between the Pages, very recent. You can get some insight into his whole process there, and he is doing great stuff there.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean
yeah.
that business is just like exploding. But yeah, I think what happened initially was he picked up The Way of a Dan and was reading it and expressed some like, yeah, this is fun, you know. And when the owner of the Broken Binding picks up your book and
Yeah. What's that like?
tweets a couple nice things about it, you're like, oh, okay. So I think I was the one who wrote initially to him after he picked up the first book and said, hey, if you'd like to do a collaboration, I'm totally there, you know.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so yeah, so from there we've had a couple great discussions and exchanges, and but yeah, nothing. I think I should be getting a contract soon, but so nothing's signed or anything yet. But I have a sense at least of where this is going, and I get so excited every time I talk to him
Oh, I
about.
can't even imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, every time he talks about it, I'm like, "Oh, this is gonna be like the best thing ever, you know." So
Can you just, I mean, manifest you holding that? Like that's gotta,
yeah.
that's huge.
I will say that he had it's among the because when we had the conversation, he's like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do these are different things we could do, interior art, blah blah blah, and which artist do you want to work with, all this stuff. One of the options he gave was you could have a forward by someone if you want, you know, and I thought about that and I said, yeah, that would be awesome. So I asked one of my heroes to write a forward, and this author said yes. And that forward is written already. And I'm just like,
Wow.
yeah, yeah.
Have you read it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've read
Oh,
it.
wow.
So I'm really excited about that. So there's a forward already written for The Way of a Dan, special edition by the Broken Binding.
Well,
So
look, I have to tell you, Dr. Chase, when I read that, I was like, I don't understand why this is not on every shelf in every bookstore that I walk in everywhere in the country. Like, this is just, I love it. It's an amazing example of the genre, and yet it subverts enough to where it's fresh. And I love it how you walk that razor's edge of it's classical and yet compulsively readable. It never bogs down. Like I just think you accomplished so much, and I'm just the first book in.
yeah. Well, thank you. I really deeply appreciate that. And I do feel like as the trilogy progressed, I did kind of for me, it was important. In some ways, the book one is of the trilogy, the most obvious like love letter to fantasy. And
Yeah, yeah,
there are hints of where I'm going to go by book three, but it's really you can see more of it in book two, and then by book three, I feel like that's where I'm really doing something different. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I won't say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I feel that book three is where I'm just kind of out there, and
Yeah.
forging new territory for fantasy, maybe. So
That's so cool. And again, it strikes me as how, I spent so many times with so many peers, and it's like I didn't start doing my best work until so many years after
yeah,
I got my mentor's voice out of my head,
sure.
or enough years from my master's program or conservatory or wherever we came from, to where I'm no longer an extension or an instrument from my mentor. I'm starting to do what I do.
Yep, yep. No, I think that's a necessary, and sometimes you see like a full out rebellion against the
Oh
the
yeah.
the
Yeah.
mentor figure, and sometimes it's a more gradual, just kind of emerging, and finding one's voice. But yeah, I think it's sort of a necessary step at some point or other. But yeah, and my heroes are pretty obvious, I think. I mentioned Tolkien already. Ursula Le Guin is another one.
Mm.
But I've been reading a lot of other fantasy in the last 20, 30 years. So I
Yeah.
feel like people have said, and I'm very flattered by these kinds of comparisons, but people have mentioned Tad Williams, which, yes, I did read Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn as a kind of a possible influence. There are others that I'm excited when people say, "This reminds me of this," but I actually didn't read it until later.
Oh.
So, which is fine. John Gwynne has been a writer that a lot of people have compared my trilogy to, and I'm like
Yeah.
so excited by that. But I didn't read any of his books until after I'd finished writing all three of mine.
Yeah. He's someone that's on my stack, but I haven't picked up yet.
Okay, yeah, there are very few authors that will get me to cry as effectively as John.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, he's the top. Like, so Stephen Erickson, John Gwynne, and Robin Hobb are my top three authors who squeeze the tears out of me.
Yeah. So here's my plan. Robin Hobb, I'm doing this year because I've been told I can take it in chunks. I don't have to go all the way through. I can take the first trilogy and
Yep.
take a little break. I was like, okay, if that's the case, I can get the Farseer trilogy in this year. I can get a trilogy in this year. But until I catch up on this Cosmere thing that I'm trying to do, which I should be done this year, I don't want to start Malazan, because that's another. And I don't think I can take a lot of breaks between these because what I hear is it's very involved.
Yeah, no, I think you can take breaks. I don't think there's
Okay.
anything wrong with that. I wouldn't see a problem with breaks, actually. In fact, I suspect a lot of people take breaks between Malazan books.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't let that be a uh, a discouragement, or that's probably the wrong word, but I wouldn't worry about having to read them, in close succession. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me ask you while we're on books. We had both talked about wanting to possibly start Bound and Broken. Are you still doing that
Oh
this
yeah,
year?
yeah. You and
Okay.
I are going to read that together, buddy.
Okay. All right. When do we want to
I
start? Do we
don't
want to
know
start?
when, but
Okay. Maybe April? Maybe April. Let me know if April works.
it'll have to be after April. I am going to
Okay.
be going right up to the deadline with SPFBO probably. I shouldn't be doing that, but that'll take me through the end of April.
Okay.
After that, I'm going to be pretty much free, but I have a couple collabs I'm going to be doing with Joanna. So not both simultaneously though. So
Yeah.
we're deciding one is going to be to finish R. Scott Baker's Second Apocalypse series. We did the Prince of
That,
Nothing.
that's another one I got to get to.
We
Yeah.
did Prince of Nothing last year, and then we're going to do the Aspect Emperor, which is the last four books. So that's one I'm probably going to do starting in May, I guess. Or we're talking about Dandelion Dynasty.
Oh, yeah. That's on my list too.
One of those two is going to be first, the other is going to be second. I thought I would start Bound and Broken probably around May. So let's keep
Okay.
in mind.
All right. I'm ready. You hit me up. You hit me
Okay.
when you're ready to go. I'll be ready to go.
Okay. Yeah. So we're thinking May at the moment. And
Okay.
hopefully I don't get. I have a problem, John, which is
Oh my God. You
I
have no
keep
idea.
getting in all these buddy reads which I
But isn't it the
love.
best? It is the
Yeah.
best. Like
Yeah.
I have to get, okay, I have old man brain. I have a list here on my desk of all the buddy reads I'm in because I would completely lose sight. Like this,
Yeah.
I'm currently reading Durfee's book with
Oh, I want to read those too. Yeah.
Josh and Matt, and we're doing one a month for 3 months. We're on book 2. And oh, it's the best time. Like it is the best time. I'm loving buddy reads. I just wrapped up Song of Our for our bond with
Yeah.
Christopher Navo and Ben and Zara, and it's like we're on
Yeah.
Discord talking back and forth. And it's like it is the most fun. I overcommit because I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I've been in so many buddy reads and I love them all. They've been the most meaningful part of my experience on this platform. I'm reading Jenny Wirtz's series right now, Wars of Light and Shadow.
Yeah,
With
that's
AP.
another one that I just don't want to do so many of these massive ones at one
Oh, this
time.
one's huge. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I know it's finishing this year, and
Yep, May the
yeah,
11th and final book is coming out. Song of the Mysteries, I think is called.
yeah. I
But anyway,
did
yeah.
read. I read her Empire trilogy last year,
Oh, cool. Yeah, I haven't read
which
that, but I hear it's great.
oh, and I think I read it when I was young because when Rift War was coming out, I was all over it. Like I every time a new book came out, I ran down and got it. Like that was my jam at the time, right? So
Okay.
I'm pretty positive I read that. It's the second trilogy of it, so I had to have read it. But it's that thing, I'm reading it now, and each book really takes place at a different time of this woman's life.
Myra.
And
Myra, you're talking about Myra.
Mara, yeah, Lady Mara. And now I've lived through kind of all those stages of life that each book is checking in with,
Yeah.
and it's a completely different series. Like it's just entirely it's like a new series.
That's the crazy thing about being a reader, is that you're a different person than you
Yeah.
were 10, 20, whatever years ago. And that person engaged with that story in a way that the you of now
Yeah.
doesn't, I mean, you have additional experiences, you've forgotten some things, and you're a different person.
Yeah.
There are books that I'm sure we read when we were younger that we were like, this is so cool, that we would read now, and they're like, yeah, that's kind of
Mm.
a nice popcorn read.
Yeah.
um and then books that we read when we were younger, which we were like, this is so boring, I don't get this, and now we're like, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I did my fave Stephen King list, and it's like everyone's asking me, "Where's Pet Cemetery?"
Yeah.
And I read it when I was so young, and all I wanted was the scares. So
Yeah.
for me, like the big bad at the end is this toddler back from the dead. It's when I was young reading that, it's like I could punt that across the room. What is this? So this is ridiculous. I had no clue as what the man's laying down of loss and grief and part
Yeah.
of your heart walking around outside your body. Now that I've been a parent, I totally understand that. It would be a
Oh,
completely
sure.
different book, a
Yeah.
completely different book.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the great thing about stories. There's one for every point of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes the same story. It's weird, right? It's
Yep.
how you say we're different. It's like we are literally completely different. Every cell in your body over so many
Yep.
years is completely, it's just like that
Yep.
old thing about, how many boards on a ship do you have to change before it's a totally new ship? I mean, we are the ship.
Yep. The
So,
boards have all been replaced several
mhm.
times over in some of our
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah.
So,
I do think I've yet to meet someone on BookTube older than me. So I do think I'm gotta be up there.
okay. Well, I'm not very far behind you, but yeah. Okay.
I mean, you're behind me though.
I could find somebody, I think.
You probably could. You know a lot more people.
I think I know a couple people who are older than you. I know a few. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to meet them. You gotta let me know who they are.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, this is really fun, but I want to hear about your we've started to talk a little bit about the series that we're reading and that sort of thing. So I want to hear about what's going to be happening, because obviously I want folks to check out your channel and subscribe and all that, but maybe you could give us some ideas about some of the series that you're really excited to be getting into, your plans for your channel, that sort of thing. If you're a planner, some people will be just like, I don't know, I just make a video when I feel like it, and And that's, from week to week, that's all I do.
Yeah,
Do you
it's
have a,
weird.
you have a vision or not?
I, I kind of have a foot in both camps. I don't I get 3 videos out a week,
That's good.
but I don't plan super far in advance. Like I'll plan like kind of the week before. I want to do more interviews because I love the interviews, especially I'm going to talk to Jacqueline Hagan next week,
Cool.
and
Wow.
want to do more of that. I actually want to do. I want to broaden out a bit and talk to some people that aren't necessarily authors, but yet they are storytellers.
Uh-huh.
I have an interest in. I've spoke to some, and they've agreed, but we haven't got a date yet. But someone that tells a story on a book cover that makes us all want to buy it, and they've won every award, every Hugo, and everything you can imagine from being an artist. Someone like that will sit down and talk to me. Hopefully, I got that coming.
Wow, that
Uh,
sounds big. Yeah.
some actor friends that have gone on to do some really great performances in the genre that we love. I think will come on and talk to me. So I want to reach out and do some of that. Um, and just the same old thing. I have up through March planned and in a stack.
Okay.
Past that, I just have so many books lined up on my shelf. I just like when I'm getting about halfway through March,
Yeah.
I'll go sit in front of my books and go, okay, well, I'm in the middle of this series and this series and this series, and then what else? What other flavors do I want? And I kind of stack up, about that far in advance.
So you can see
Uh,
a month or two ahead, basically.
about a month or two ahead, yeah. And I do that because, like, May, if we could do Bound and Broken, I want to be open for that.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to turn down something
It'll
because I'm
need to be
so
because I think
far.
those books are rather thick.
Well, the first one's not too bad.
Okay.
I mean, I know I've got the first novella and the first book. We can blow through that easy
Oh,
in
novellas. Yeah, those, yeah.
yeah, yeah, we can blow through that easy in a month. After that, it gets chunky. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to figure out the reading order too, because I've heard that the first novella happens way before the first book, but some people think it's better if you read it after the first book. And I don't
I've been Mike told me before. Mike said do
know.
it first, do the novella, then the book. So
Okay.
that's how I have it
We
stacked.
got to
And
listen to
then
Mike. We got to listen to.
yeah, and then it's pretty much novella book, novella book, novella. That's kind of the way it goes.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll do that.
So we'll be set. So let's see, what other big plans do I don't really I mean, I probably get through a good 6, 7 books a month. If I can hit 100 pages a day, I can get through 6, 7 books a month.
Okay. That's good.
Uh,
Yeah. I usually probably slightly less for the booktube because obviously my day job involves reading a lot. But
sure.
but for this, I try to keep this to fantasy pretty much. And so for this, it's probably more like 4 or 5 books a month for me, usually, I would
I
say.
mean, that's still a lot because fantasy can be some big old whomper.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Yep.
yeah. I still there's no way I can't sprinkle in some thriller and horror and stuff like that. I have to do it. I just love it.
Of course, I've been
Um,
getting in some graphic novels as well. Those are the
oh,
additional, like the Sandman and
how much do you love Sandman? I that is one of my all time. I put that up there as a fantasy series, all time for me,
oh sure. Yeah. Yeah.
all time. I think
It's funny. I had it's my first time reading it, and I've been a fan of American Gods for a long time, and The Ocean at the End of the Lane, and I don't know why it took me so long to finally get to the Sandman, but now that I'm reading it, I'm thinking, yeah, this is his masterpiece, I think.
Yeah, it really is. If you've gotten to the Midsummers, then you've done Season of Mists already, right?
No, I've gotten the first 20 issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's Season of Mists. I think when you get to that, you're gonna start to see where, oh, I see where American Gods came from now.
Oh, I'm seeing a lot of that
Yeah.
already. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm seeing a ton of that already. But yeah, I mean, we were talking about this earlier too with the discussion I mentioned. But I love how he engages with mythology
Oh,
and myth being what I said with AP, and I didn't make this up. I probably read this in somewhere like Joseph Campbell or something. But
yeah.
myth being essentially a collective dream, whereas
Mm-hmm.
dream is an individual's myth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they partake though of that same unconscious, welling up of just experience, life, what have you,
Right.
And I love how Gaiman unabashedly draws from myth for his storytelling. He scoops up that primal stuff and makes it into a story for us now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He absolutely knows our gestalt. He absolutely knows the ether that is underneath our physical reality that has, that the story that has made us, he gets it and he repurposes it and he serves it back to us. And it is just familiar enough and yet at the same time, all different. I think the guy's special. He's got a short story. With that in mind, you should absolutely teach this short story.
I've taught one of his short stories before.
Which one?
How to Talk to Girls at Parties. It was the
Oh,
one.
that's a good. No, he has a short story called Murder Mystery.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Absolutely find that story if you want to teach myth and kind of where it's they're heaven and they're laying out the plans for the cosmos, and one angel has to bring about and understand passion, and through that the first murder happens. So then the investigation of the first murder in the Silver City is going on. It
Ah.
is amazing. It is so good. It's one of my favorite short stories of all time.
Have you read the one where Shadow Moon it's a more of a novella. What is it? It's something of it's the one that's where it's based off Beowulf.
Mm-hmm.
What's the title of that? It's been so many years since I read it. Something about the Glen, Monarch of the Glen. Is that, do I have that right?
I think that's it. I'm not coming up with that either, but I'm almost positive I've read it. I read every collection he's put out.
I
So
might be botching that title a little bit, something like the Monarch of the Glen or something. But anyway, it's a Beowulf inspired story, but Shadow is the protagonist.
no, well,
Yeah, after American Gods.
I'll have to
So
find it. Have you done Anansi Boys kind of
I have
after?
not read Anansi Boys.
Oh
I
yeah, that's good
loved,
stuff.
and I know he's not really a character in Anansi Boys, but I loved Mr. Nancy in American Gods, of course.
Yeah,
Who doesn't, right?
who doesn't love Mr. Nancy? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, cool. So Gaiman is a big one. Are you going to cover? I've unfortunately found in our corner of BookTube that whenever I make Neil Gaiman content or I'm involved in a discussion of his work, it does not get many views. And maybe I'm just doing it wrong, but I have never found Neil Gaiman content to be really clickable, I guess.
Wow, I don't know. I mean, I'll definitely whatever his next book is. He hasn't done anything that I'm aware of since the Norse book. But I
Yeah.
mean, whatever comes out next, I'm going to read immediately.
That was
So,
good too, by the way. His Norse myth retellings, very closely based on the Prose Edda. If you're ever
mm-hmm.
curious, I don't know if you've read the Prose Edda or not.
Mm-mm.
The original source. I have it here uh, in Icelandic, but or in Old Norse, if you will. But I also have a great translation here somewhere. The Anthony Falk's translation, which I always recommend. Here we go. This one here. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will find it.
Yeah, but if you read this, you will see where Gaiman got all those stories from, in a more raw form because he's polished some of the edges off.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, that's the original stuff, and he's really closely. It's really a retelling, is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So the video you put out today, which I really liked, was about authors that make you laugh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So have you read Christopher Moore? Have you ever read any
No. No.
Christopher
No.
Moore?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. You and someone else recommended him.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I just
At least
think
two, maybe three people actually. Yeah.
there's a book called The Gospel According to Biff, I
Hmm.
believe. And I think that has a chance to be a special read for you. I really do. After
Gospel
reading
according
your
to
book, yeah, I really think you should check that out. It is laugh out loud, and by the end, it has a chance of landing spiritually for the right type of person that's gone on the right kind of journey that I think it could be special.
Cool. All right. All right. Moore's The Gospel of Biff. Okay.
Gospel. I think it's a gospel according to Biff. I think that's it.
According to Biff.
Something
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Cool. All right. Very good. Yeah, well, I'll add that to my gigantic TBR file.
I know you got nothing to read, so I just want to throw that out there.
Okay. No, I love it. That's one of the reasons I make these videos is to get recommendations and to hear what I hope with these videos, these top 10 videos, because to tell you the truth, John, I hate making top 10 videos.
Oh
I
my
hate
God.
it.
Yeah, everyone I've made, the second they go up, I'm like, I'm such a doofus. Like I
Oh yeah.
totally forgot this, or I
Oh
whiffed that.
yeah.
What was I thinking? Like it never fails. I
Or
never
who
get it
who
right.
am I to make this, I
Well,
mean,
yeah. Well, who would listen to this doofwad named Tin? But you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, but one of the reasons I've decided to do this is because one, I do think that this format that's so popular on BookTube, this top 10 thing, because people love that sort of thing. Okay, fine.
yeah,
Um, I think you could tweak it and perhaps maybe I'm just being a little bit hubristic here, but I think you could tweak it and make it actually really informative. To give it some nuance, get a little granular with it. Okay,
yeah,
well, if we take that concept of top 10, but we get a little more specific, let's say top 10 authors who make you laugh, like today's video was, maybe we can get some insights into what it is that authors do who make us laugh. How do they do
yeah,
it? What are the things they do? That's what I'm interested in. I want to get in a conversation about that and get some good recommendations. But yeah, that's what it's really about for me is how do authors make you cry? How do they do it? How do they appeal to our emotions? How do they make us laugh? How do they make us think? What is it that authors who are really good at that, like
yeah.
like Neil Gaiman, how do they make us think? How do they do that? So that's what I'm interested in with that, and hopefully
I
it
watched all three of them and I love them. I think why people love to click on those is like, when I first came to BookTube, I wanted to find new authors. So it's
yep,
like in one video, I get 10 of them. I
yep.
think that's why people like it or
Oh
why they
yeah,
want to click on it. And what I found is I've watched like all three of yours now. And what I really love is I'm starting to piece together, okay, so Steven Erickson has shown up on kind of all three of these.
yep,
I gotta get to Malazan. Like
yeah, yeah.
it really motivates me to really want to get to certain authors. So I think you've really hit on something. I really like it.
Good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've so far there are three authors standing who have gotten to all three,
Yeah, Erickson
it,
Hobb
and Mark Lawrence.
and Mark Lawrence.
Yep.
I'm starting Mark Lawrence in April. I'm gonna do Ancestors.
Oh, Book of the Ancestor.
Yeah, I have all three of them set aside.
Yeah, I love Book of the Ancestor. Really, one of the brilliant things that I feel Lawrence does really well is he writes vulnerable characters who are misfits, characters who are broken,
Mm,
and you really see that in Book of the Ancestor. And it's just so endearing when you're pulling for this misfit to find her place in the world, to find her tribe, like you and I did.
yeah, yeah. Well, I think one of the things that really interests me is I know it didn't connect at all with Mike. And
Yeah,
watching him make all three of these lists that you've put out, it's like that usually tells me, okay, that's an artist that's staking territory out that I got to go there. I got to see, even if it's not for me, I got to go see what they're doing, you
right,
know?
right.
So it
Yeah,
excites me.
he can be a tough one to pin down because every trilogy of his, I feel like he's done something a little different. Like Broken Empire is grimdark, and he's most famous for that. But none of his other series are grimdark.
Really? Okay.
No, no. I mean, the 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 it's not quite right to call it a sequel series because Red Queen's War uh,
Hmm.
happens concurrently with Broken Empire. It's in the same world, and there are even a few little cute crossovers. But it's tonally very different because you have a first-person narrator in both. And in Red Queen's War, the first-person narrator is Jalin. He's very different from Jorg. And he's Jalen is, I put him up there as one of my favorite comedic characters, if you will, in fantasy.
Wow. Yeah, that's what you said today. So that's
There's some
awesome.
great, just, and it's not just that it's funny, it's also really insightful. Uh,
Yeah.
and then he's come out most recently with the Library trilogy and the first book of that, which was my favorite book of 2023.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't started that one yet. I kind of want to go
That was
back.
word. Yeah.
I think if I don't know, are you this way too? If there's an artist you think that okay, this might be for me, I kind of like to go back in the catalog a little bit. I don't like to just grab their latest thing because I want to have that journey of how they got to where they are.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I understand that. But the one thing about Lawrence is I think he is the one writer I feel like where if you don't like Grimdark and you don't like Broken Empire, you could still really love for example, Book of the Ancestor, or what he's doing in the Library trilogy is just so different.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It is just tremendous what he's doing in the Library trilogy right now. To me, I can't be more excited for, I think, April, actually. I don't know how I'm going to fit it in, but damn it, I'm going to do it. Uh, the book that broke the world, the book that's going to break my TBR is what it is.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
but the book that broke the world is coming out in April, and I want to get it to it day one. Yeah, I mean, the first book, it was just so crazy what he did there. And what I keep telling people is, first of all, it's like a puzzle.
Yeah.
And it's like a puzzle in the sense that you don't know, it's a puzzle where you haven't gotten to see the picture ahead of time. So you don't know what you're making with the puzzle.
Right.
And you get to the end of this book and you're suddenly like, what? That's what this is? And I just wanted to start that book right over again and reread it as soon as I finished it. I'd never had that happen before. So it was,
Have you ever read Cloud Atlas?
no, no, not yet. Is that like that?
That's
Yeah.
that was one for me. I mean, it was almost like a Russian nesting doll. It just keeps going further and further and further
Yeah.
in, and by the time you get to the end, you can see back all the way to the. It's like, oh my God, this guy's a genius! Like it all just hits you. It's really special. It's really
I
something
saw
amazing.
they made the film on it, right?
And it's a really good love letter. The Warshawskis did a really nice job. They love the material. They did a great love letter, but there's no way they can really fit in what's in the book into 2.5, 3 hours. It just can't be done.
Right, right. I remember, I don't remember all the details, but I remember enjoying that film.
Yeah.
Really should read the book. Yeah.
No,
So,
I think you'd like it a lot. So, okay,
yeah.
give me the elevator pitch of the book that wouldn't burn. What
Okay. I mean,
if you can, be
just to
vague.
begin with, it is set in an possibly infinite library. Okay. If that isn't enough for you, then
Yeah, I'm sold.
I mean, a lot of us are like, okay, I'm in.
Oh, I'm in. Yeah. Yeah.
It is set in a possibly infinite library. But okay, so the characters are wonderful. There's a cast of characters that, again, you're kind of the main characters. There are two main POVs, and they're both misfits. This is a classic Mark Lawrence thing, I think, a pattern I see. They're both misfits. They're both trying to find their way, and they're in some ways within their social positions looked down upon. Now the theme wise, what he's doing in there is he's looking at knowledge for one, how we know what we know, and how reliable that is, and the
Mm.
idea that history, it's not what we think it is. That
Mhm.
we have a certain narrative truth that is put before the public and is in fact enforced in some ways. But in many ways, when you start digging, you start to realize, oh, there are some holes in this narrative that
Yeah.
everybody believes in. So that's in there. Also, identity and memory are huge in the Library trilogy. The idea that your personality, who you think of, your own personal narrative of who you are, rests upon, in many ways, your memories.
Hmm.
But what if you were to discover that your memories are in fact very unreliable? And guess what? They are,
Of
because
course yes.
we're
Yeah.
constantly tweaking our memories, you know.
Yeah.
What you think happened 10 years ago at that reunion, that's not what happened, you know. So that whole thing about your identity resting upon your memories and the slipperiness of that, that's a big part of it too.
Oh, I
Uh,
like this. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this sounds great.
yeah, yeah, it is great. I mean, he's a writer who somehow, for me at least, gets that perfect balance of introspective, but somehow it reads so fast.
Mm,
I never feel like I'm laboring when I'm reading a book by Mark Lawrence. It's just always bang, 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 bang. But somehow he's making me think the whole time. And I love
wow.
that. Yeah. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Okay. I'm glad I'm picking up Book of the Ancestor
yeah. Yeah, yeah.
coming up.
Oh,
I can't
there's
wait
good
to get
stuff.
in.
The other thing he always does is he doesn't give a crap about genre boundaries. Like
Oh, see, I love that. I
if
love genre
you
blending.
think you're
Love it.
reading a fantasy and suddenly you realize, oh wait, I'm actually reading a science fiction book here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
He does that all the
And
time. Yeah.
and that's very much like David Mitchell and Jacqueline Hagan. You'll see when you pick that up. It's like, wait a minute. Oh, we're into horror now. It's and I just love that. I love that that's happening more and more now.
Yeah.
Uh, and I love that it messes up the marketeers. They don't know what box to put it in.
Yeah.
You know, I
I think he was one of the early ones doing that, though, I have to say. I mean, of course, there's your guy, Stephen King, writing the Dark Tower series, which is uncategorizable. Um,
no. All you can do is that's a love letter to every story ever told, right? Like that's as close as I can pin that down, but it is everywhere. It's epic fantasy, it's science fiction, it's horror, it's western, you
yep,
know?
all of it, all of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I haven't read anything else by King, but I loved the whole Dark Tower series. I read all 8 books, so I include Wind Through the Keyhole, you know.
Yeah. I haven't read that yet. I have that on my stack that I haven't got to. I've read the other ones.
See, that's how I know how long someone has loved Stephen King's books, because it tends to be the case that you people who have been reading him for a long time haven't read Wind Through the Keyhole for
Yeah.
some reason. And I'm the newbie, but I read Wind Through the Keyhole. Yeah, yeah.
I tell you, you need to pick up if you want to try, and this is what I tell everyone, pick up different seasons
Okay.
because it's a book of 4 novellas
Novellas. Yeah, yeah.
and it's I mean they're quick reads and it's him like every one he just almost I think there's one in there that I'm not crazy about, but he hits every one of them out of the park and it's not supernatural or fantastical. I mean, it's really just his character study stuff that is like, just wow.
That's the one that includes the story that oh God, what's the film that
Shawshank, The
Shawshank.
Body. Yeah, The Body's in there too.
Okay.
Or Stand By Me is the movie.
Stand by Me. Okay, and the Shawshank Redemption. I mean,
Yeah, they're both in different seasons.
these are brilliant films.
Yeah. Oh, wait till I'm telling you, read the novella, and it's like that. He's when he's doing his slice of life character study stuff. Like he can catch all of that. He's really good at that.
Okay. Yeah, I know I need to read more. I really enjoyed his narrative voice in the Dark Tower series, which is surprisingly very not just American, but very New England, I think.
Yeah, hard scrabble.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
hard scrabble. And someone you mentioned about who makes you laugh, which I think is the king of voice, is Joe Abercrombie.
Oh yeah.
That's why he makes me laugh. He is the king of voice in this genre, and his brilliant genius master stroke. When I was talking about it on my channel, it's like if you've ever seen an actor's script and there's the line, and above every line they have the subtext written down of what this person's really thinking, so I can put that kind of top spin on the line that the writer has given me, right? And his genius take of just giving all the subtext inner monologue of Glotka, just putting it out there, I adore it. It is so amazing.
Yeah. No, I think Abercrombie's characters, this is going to sound weird at first, but I'll explain. I feel like Abercrombie's characters are on the spectrum of round and flat. Round being multidimensional flat
Hmm.
being one-dimensional. I think his character is more on the flat side, actually. But that's not a bad thing. And people hear flat character and they think bad, right? No, 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 no. In many brilliant authors, many famous, wonderful authors, Charles Dickens, for example, their characters are flat, but they're vivid. The point
Mm.
is that this one dimension of this character's personality is so just larger than life and so vivid that they're such a compelling character. Flat characters are always really conducive to being almost symbolic, of something or other. So there are many great writers who tend to have flat characters in their storytelling. William Faulkner, for example.
Oh yeah,
I
Sound and the
Anyway,
Fury.
at times. I mean, there's some great, great, brilliant flat characters. There's nothing wrong with a flat character. I feel like Abercrombie shows us how to do flat characters right, like how to do vivid, compelling, interesting characters who are not entirely flat, because I do think of it as a spectrum, but more on the flat side. They tend to have one dominant thing about their personality. And you often what he's doing there is it's a subversion of a trope.
Mhm. Oh, over and over
He's
again.
taking a trope and he's turning it on its head and he's giving you over and over again. That's the thing he does, but he's still engaging with the trope, right?
Yeah,
He's just
yeah. Oh,
putting it on its head.
there's so much Arthurian stuff in the first trilogy. I've only read the first trilogy, but
Quest. Yeah.
there's so much Arthurian stuff in
But you
that,
know which Arthurian story the ending most resembles? Monty Python's version.
Oh, there's a scene
Yeah.
in that. There's a scene, I think it's in book two,
Yeah.
that it's straight up, almost word for word, Nicole Williamson dialogue from Excalibur, the movie by John Borman. I
Mm.
mean, almost word for word. Like there are several things that he's lifting from different Mallory T.H. White. Like he's lifting several things and then putting so much topspin on them and giving it back to you. And it's like, oh my God, like this, okay, I loved it. I thought it was great. And the characters I just heard over and over again before I picked it up of like, oh, they're just, despicable people. And it's like, I didn't find that at all. I found in this brutal world, I found beauty
That's true.
because of the juxtaposition of how brutal it becomes. I
Yeah.
found characters that are reprehensible and at the same time are trying to adhere to a moral center the best they can in this brutal reality.
Yeah. No,
Like
they're flawed. They're flawed like you and me, right?
yeah, but I mean, I still saw heroic things, them
Yeah.
overcoming these flaws and overcoming their
We're
past and
trying to.
overcoming, right?
We're trying to and usually failing, but there is something about the trying that I find compelling. And Abercrombie makes me laugh, even though it's, like I said in the video, it's so depressing and dismal and bleak and even grotesque, but he makes me laugh.
Yeah, yeah.
So somehow it's elevating at the same time,
Oh, I do think it's elevating. I do think it's like, I think that I saw heroism in these characters.
Sure.
And it's like, it's a hot take. I know a lot of people aren't going to think this, but it's like, I absolutely do. And I see love in these characters and I see
Yeah.
duty and honor in these characters. They may fail at it, but they have it, because if they didn't have it, their failings wouldn't matter.
I think
There'd
there
be no
is
pathos to it.
I think there is something honorable and compelling about going about a task that you know you're doomed to fail, like courage in the face of certain doom. I'm going to try to be a better person, and
Mhm.
but life throws stuff at you and puts you in these circumstances that trigger your worst side, and there you go again, and you're going to fail, and you got to get up again and try
Or
again.
because of a past failing that you carry with you, you dig your heels in and will not allow yourself to succumb and fail again. Like
Yep.
there's, I just saw so many different layers of different things in these characters than what I expected to see.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're fantastic. I love Abercrombie's stuff, and his humor, as I said, it's top for me. I got to read more Terry Pratchett, but I'm
I'm
gonna.
like you. I've read the first one. I haven't read the second yet, but I started at the beginning like you, and I think it probably gets exponentially better as you go on.
That's my impression so far. Yeah, I'm four Discworld books in now, and I don't think there's any official order you have to go in. There are all these different arcs within Discworld, and I'm trying to just try a bit of each arc. So I've read the first two I read and I was like, well, okay. I mean, this was interesting. And
Yeah.
I don't, I mean, I get it. I think there's satire. It's interesting, but then I read Guards, which is the City Watch arc, if you will. That's the
Right.
beginning of it. And I thought, okay, yeah, now I get it. And I read the first of the Witch books, the arc there with equal rights. Loved it. I'm gonna try Mort, I think, next is probably what I'll,
Yeah.
because I want to just try. I know a lot of people would say, no, just read straight through this arc or that, but I want to try the different ones first. So
See, you got that Whitman sampler disease that I have.
a little bit. I like my dark chocolate with coconut too.
Yeah, you've got a favorite. You've got a favorite.
So, but yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So much to look forward to on this platform, and I know we're gonna have fun engaging with some of these books over the next few years, John. It's gonna be great, isn't it?
It has. I have to tell you, the moment my kid helped me do this, I don't even think I comprehend how it has enlightened my life because I'm just kind of at the beginning of it. I've only been doing this like 9 months,
Yeah.
and already it has brought me such joy. And it's so many phenomenal people that I have met to this point. And it's like, I just think over time, I'm just going to become closer, and what I have in store for me, I'm not even sure if I comprehend.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're going on all these journeys in our books, but this itself is a journey as well,
Yeah, absolutely.
where we meet a lot of good friends along the way. So,
Yeah.
well, I encourage you all to check out John's channel. There will, of course, be a link in the description for you to easily access it. But Talking Story, wonderful channel, great energy, wonderful insights. Plus, when you go over there, make sure you give John's son a little bit of applause for.
He does all the work. He really does all the work. Yeah.
He does a great job too. So it's a nice father-son team there you've got going, I think. That's really special too.
It's been crazy. Yeah. I mean, we've always kind of worked and created together as a family, and this has been pretty special part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I had some help from my daughters over the 4 years I've been doing this. My younger daughter, I actually hired to make thumbnails for me at a certain point.
Really?
Yeah, because I was so bad. I had the worst thumbnails on BookTube.
I hear so many people compliment your thumbnails, and
Well,
that's your secret. It's your daughter.
okay. So for a while, I paid her $10 a thumbnail, and she got tired of it. So she just, look, Dad, let me teach you how to do this. So essentially, she taught me how to use the apps and stuff. And so I've been making my own, uh, instead of just telling her, oh, I want you to do this and this and this.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, um, give me big muscles so I make Jimmy look small. That kind of.
Exactly. Yeah. You would need big muscles.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I had that. That's from a few years ago. It was when I had Jimmy on this, actually, Dear Dr. Fantasy. I had her make a thumbnail. And this was a bit of vengeance, actually, because he made a thumbnail with me doing this next to him doing this, and there was a slight difference.
Very different, very, very slight. Very slight, I bet. Yeah.
So I just thought, okay, we'll doctor it up a little bit for the doctor here, and
Yeah.
you should check out that old episode of DDF where I'm looking pretty buff and Jimmy's looking kind of.
I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to find that one.
Yep, that's a classic right there.
Yeah.
So
I can't wait to see what you do with me. I'm looking forward to it.
yeah, and I do take requests if you have a specific character in mind.
Oh my God. No, I just want to see. I'm not going to get between the artist and their work. I want to see what you do, my friend.
All right, fair enough. I will need a digital photo from you though. So,
I'll get one to you by tomorrow night.
Okay, cool. All right. So yes, this has been a lot of fun, John. I really enjoyed myself. And again, everybody check out Talking Story. You're gonna have a great time when you get over there. I know it. And thanks for watching this, and until next time.